What's up, my friend? Welcome back to another video, and today we're taking a look at the Intimate Legato Violin by Sonixinema. So this is the natural follow-up to the Intimate Legato Cello that came out last year at the time of this recording, and that was an instant hit, and so a lot of people were very hyped about this library, as was I, and so I reached out to Sonixinema. They very kindly offered me a copy, and we're going to take a look at this for you today. And great news as well, they are doing a giveaway as well, or I'm doing a giveaway, so they have very kindly provided a giveaway copy as well. So stick around to the end of the video for those details. But without further ado, let's kind of dive on into this library. So the name itself basically tells you everything you need to know. This violin is a legato only library that has a very intimate, warm sort of sound, but it also has a more raw performance that makes it feel more realistic, and it's like you're closer up to the performer, which is a really cool thing. A lot of libraries have more of a warm character, and it's just a different vibe overall, right? But you can see here that it's built for the free contact player, and it was recorded in a small church hall with a variety of microphone positions to capture the detail of the violin and the room. So you have that flexibility there with the positions. There's also a rebowing key switch, which is very handy actually. Then there's the legato intensity and volume sliders, and again the mic positions that you can choose from, and so on. Intro price 55 euros, regular price 69 euros. So that is that there. And if at any point you want to purchase this library yourself after this giveaway, you can use the link down below in the description box. It is an affiliate link, so you will be supporting the channel in the process, and it's greatly appreciated if you want to support me in any way. But anyway, let's kind of get into it. So in the DAW, or in Contact, this is what it looks like. So for me personally, I'm not the biggest fan of the GUI myself because there's a lot of knobs and stuff you can tweak. And I've mentioned before on my channel that I love GUIs that are just super simple. You open, there's maybe one or two things you can play around with, and that's it. That's, to me, what makes something like Tina Guo's cello legato so fun to play with, because there really is just nothing you can really do aside from play. You know, like you can tweak the reverb, you can play with the legato speed and intensity, sure, but that's pretty much it. So you do have more options here, but you have, obviously it's a little bit more complicated as well. So that's just a little thing to note. But also you have these little snapshots. So in terms of the legato, there's different speeds that you can play around with. There's the space as well. They play around with the reverb and all of that stuff. So we'll listen to that in just a little bit, but let me just play out of the box what this legato violin sounds like. So here we go. All right, that is the sound out of the box. So a very raw sound, right? You can hear, compared to the cello, which we will hear in just a little bit, it's definitely more gritty, definitely is more raw. And that's out of the box. That's the close mic. Let me see if we turn up the, hang on, let me pull this down a little bit. Let's bring up this mic here. The mids, let's bring in that a little bit too maybe, and let's see if that makes a difference. Let's bring in the far a little bit here as well. All right, let's see what the mid and the far kind of sound like on their own here. Yeah, so they definitely sound nice, but I think the core sound of this library still lies in kind of the close and with the stereo mic pair here. So yeah, it's really nice overall. If you want a slightly less gritty raw sound, then I think it might make sense to kind of pull the first two down, maybe bring in the mids and the fars a little bit more like this. Right? So yeah, you can play around with the positions a little bit there. And in terms of the actual legato intensity and speed, the speed is what's going to make most of the difference here. So if we push it up a little bit, this is what it's going to sound like. So definitely it responds faster to your playing. However, it does lose the realism there because the engine is basically trying to bring the next note in a little bit faster. And so it's kind of cutting off the legato transition. It's kind of covering it. So naturally that's not going to sound that great. So the sweet spot of this library, I really think lies in kind of the out of the box sound. So if we go back to the legato close slow, we can see how the speed is all the way at the bottom. So it allows the full legato transition to audiate basically. But that kind of leads me to two little nitpicks I have when playing around with this library. The first one is that because the legato is so pronounced in some of these transitions, like you really hear that slide and it sounds so realistic. If you repeat that same note, or if you like go back and forth between the note and you have that in a passage, that legato transition is going to sound the same when you go between those notes. And in a real performance, they transition between notes slightly differently every time. That's just how it is in a human performance. So with this library, if you have a very sort of specific transition that you hear, for example, if I hear, let's see, a D, the D to the B, let's do that again. Right? Every time we go from the D up to that B, there's that duh, duh. It's like that slide into that B, and it sounds identical every time. So I don't think there are any legato round robins, if you will. Like there aren't multiple legato transitions per note that it switches between. So that being said, you do want to look out for that, especially in a more exposed sort of context, right? If you repeat a certain legato transition that has a very pronounced sort of sound, if you repeat multiple of that transition, it's going to sound like a machine gun effect in that regard. So just be careful there. So this really excels in performing notes that are not subsequently back and forth, right? If you just have a longer passage that goes over a bunch of different notes, that's where it's going to really shine, I think. The other little nitpick I wanted to share was some of the tuning. The most offensive one that I heard while playing with this was the D to the B flat here. So if we play a D, here's the B flat. You hear how flat that is, right? If I go from another note to the B flat, suddenly the B flat is a lot more in tune. It's actually borders on a little bit being a little bit sharp actually, but that's totally fine. So let's go from another note, E flat to B flat. That one's fine. E, right? But it's the D here, right? That B flat is definitely flat there. So yeah, I found a couple of bum notes here in while playing through this library. So I'm sure those could be addressed in an update like they did with the cello. But just be careful that there are a few notes that you might have to manually tune, like bounce to audio and then adjust the note manually if you want to do that. But other than that, the performance itself is very smooth, and this library definitely excels in the slower performances because when you go faster, the legato transition starts to fade away and it sounds a little bit less realistic. Now, speaking of presets, let's kind of play around with these a little bit. A bit more. So let's hear ambient slow here. So we're going to expect a bigger, wider sound with more reverb. Let's try another one here. Let's do legato huge space. I actually really like this one. The reverb and the delay are obviously a little bit overkill, but it really warms the sound up of the violin a little bit more. So I do really enjoy that. Okay, let me just try playing Schindler's List a little bit here. And this is where I discovered the D to B flat detuning thing there, or the tuning issue. Let me play this a little bit and see how this sounds. We'll use this same preset here. All right, there we go. So yeah, overall, that's the basic look at the library. And yeah, again, just keep those two little things in mind. Overall, the performance is very smooth. It definitely excels in the slower lines. So if you're going to play more faster passages, you know, it makes sense to kind of push up the speed, but you are going to sacrifice a little bit of realism there. And then just make sure that when you are playing your melodies, don't repeat the same transition too many times in a row, or else again, you're going to get that machine gun effect in the legato itself. And then a couple of note tuning issues. Again, they can be addressed in an update, but obviously in the context of a performance, you wouldn't want that to really sound, right? You wouldn't want those untuned notes to be there. So you might have to go through, play your line in, bounce it to audio, use Melodyne or whatever to adjust that bum note to the correct pitch. So comparing that with the cello, it's very interesting. The cello itself out of the box has a very warm and rounded sound. And come to think of it, I think one of the reasons why this library was so popular and what makes it so applicable to many legato lines is that none of the transitions really feel overly slidey or portamento-y or anything like that. So if you repeat that same transition multiple times, it's less obvious, like it stands out less, right? That transition being repeated. Whereas for the violin, there are quite a few transitions that are more slidey and more, transition-y in nature. So you're going to hear that same transition more obviously because it has that unique sound to it for that transition. So that's another thing to consider. But anyway, a great library, I think, for those intimate legato lines. If you need sort of a violin library to do that, you have lots of choices out there, but this is just another great addition to the market. And I think Sonixinema, with a tiny bit more work, maybe just a simple update, that could make this really stand out and shine, in my opinion. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. Again, if you want to have a chance of winning this library, then follow these 3 steps. Number 1 is to fill out the form below in the description box. Just click the first link there, enter your details there, and you'll be entered into the system. And I'll be emailing within a couple of days to let you know who the winner is. Number 2, leave a comment under this video letting me know what you would use this library for and why you want it. It's always great to read, what you would use in your music and why you want it. And number 3, just leave a like on the video. It always helps and it's greatly appreciated. So thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you very soon in the next video, and I'll see you then. Take care. Bye.